They said, fight a real boxer. They said, fight someone your size. They said, fight a world champion. We looked at a long list of supposed fighters for me to fight.
Yeah. Good. Right hand. Good. Right hand. Good. Right hand. That's the shot. See? If he comes in there, that's it over. You see what I mean? You don't have to do that or come out. Just boom, drop the chin. Good. Left hook high now and then just roll my right hook. Good. Too low.
Oh, this happened, that happened. So it's the name of my career is criticizing me and then making excuses after I do the impossible or no way it's going to happen.
With just 4 weeks left before Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua step into the ring, both fighters are clearly pushing themselves to the limit. Jake is grinding through intense training sessions, sparring hard, and treating this matchup as the toughest challenge of his career. Meanwhile, Joshua looks sharp, explosive, and fully locked in, making it clear he's not underestimating Jake in the slightest. Their training camps show discipline, focus, and serious commitment from both sides.
That's good. Don't look for nothing. Now step around him. Upper body. Keep a rhythm now. Keep a rhythm. Don't wait on him. Now you're waiting on him, mate.
The boxing world is buzzing nonstop as predictions pour in for this massive showdown, and nearly everyone in the sport has weighed in. Among the loudest voices is Joey Knight, who issued one of the strongest warnings so far. He believes Jake is taking this fight mainly because it guarantees huge attention, viral moments, and massive financial reward. According to Joey, Jake understands the business side of boxing better than most, and he knows this matchup will attract worldwide numbers. But Joey also argues that Jake is pushing things too far just for a payday. Stepping in with someone as powerful and experienced as Anthony Joshua is nothing like Jake's previous opponents. Joshua is a true heavyweight threat, a fighter whose punches can alter a career instantly. Joey warns that if Jake gets seriously hurt, the money and fame won't matter afterward. Analyst Adam Catterall and Nick Pete also pointed out the glaring mismatch between the two men. To them, Joshua is simply too big, too skilled, and too seasoned for Jake Paul.
A lot of cash, maybe not as much as the Anthony Joshua fight, but a lot of cash, and can still have a serious chance of going on to earn even more paydays. Whereas the damage that it could do to his body could be irreversible for that opportunity to earn money in a boxing career going forward. So is this the retirement bag? Or do you actually think you can win? Because I read a study recently, and I believe it said something along the lines of men overemphasize or overcalculate their ability to fight by about 500 times. And I'm saying Jake Paul would probably need to be 500 times better to stand a chance against Anthony Joshua. And I can't get how he doesn't already know this. Surely he has sparred with heavyweights. Surely the recent sparring that he had with the likes of Shakur Stevenson and with the likes of Ray Ford, amongst others, Badu Jack, surely that would have taught you that there are levels to boxing. And if these small guys are able to show you things that you had no idea that you were vulnerable to in a boxing ring, what happens when someone who hits 4, 5, 6 times as hard as that does the exact same thing to you and lands it on your chin? The whole reason of why I know where I am in the influencer boxing scene, in the misfit scene, is because of the level that I have sparred at. I've sparred boys that have gone on to box for world titles. I've sparred with English champions, and I've sparred with loads of Southern area champions. And doing that enabled me to understand what level I can reach in boxing and what level I can't reach. And some people might say, well, Jake Paul's clearly more ambitious than you. There's no reason for him to be, because he's not a better pound-for-pound boxer than me. So there really is no reason. And that really does make me think that one of two things have happened. Jake Paul has never, ever had serious elite sparring anywhere.
They insist this won't look like a competitive fight, it will look like a sparring session that Joshua controls from start to finish. The size difference is massive, the power gap is undeniable, and the experience levels are incomparable. From a pure boxing standpoint, they argue this fight shouldn't even be happening. Their message is straightforward. The only reason this matchup exists is because Jake Paul wants it. Joshua has nothing to gain, nothing to prove, and nothing he needs from this fight. That alone shows it's more about entertainment than competition. Wade, host of the Wade Concept podcast, takes the criticism even further. In his view, there is no angle where this matchup makes any real sense. Jake Paul does not have the experience, timing, punch resistance, or natural power required to survive against someone like Anthony Joshua. Joshua has fought world champions, heavy hitters, and elite technicians. Jake, on the other hand, has limited pro rounds and has never faced anyone in Joshua's physical category.
Climbed the domestic rankings in America, and he might even make top 50. He might make top 50 if you pick him right, great. But if you put him in with meritocracy and put him in rankings and actually make him fight the number 49 guy in America or try and climb up, he's going to get found out because he's a nutter novice. Now I know, I speak from experience here. I did an exhibition bout with Shane Neary, a former world champion, and I was fucking 2 or 3 stone bigger than him. I was 5 inches bigger than him, very similar to AJ and Jake Paul. And I was a novice. I'd boxed, sparred and moved around my whole life, but I'd never been in a competitive fight. And we did it for charity. And we did 3 rounds. And at the end of it, I realised, and I knew it going in, that Shane Neary controlled pretty much every second of those 3 minutes. Pretty much every second he controlled. He put the pressure on me in 1 round, he hit me with the body shot in the 2nd round, and he caught everything I threw at him in the 3rd round when he said, go on, try and knock me out. Caught everything. And, you know, in a similar vein, Anthony Joshua controls every second of this fight that he wants to control, because he comes from a certain level of stock that Jake Paul can't shortcut his way to. This fight is happening because Jake Paul sees the name Anthony Joshua and has probably gone. It's that conversation in the schoolyard, isn't it? What would you do for what would you do for $1 million? What would you do for 2 million? What would you do for 10 million? What would you do for 100 million? Would you let Anthony Joshua punch you in the face for 100 million notes? Yeah, I fucking would. Absolutely, AJ. Step up, mate. Take your best shot. Wake me up in the hospital. Cha-ching. Isn't Jake Paul doing the same thing? Getting 100 million quid off Netflix to let Anthony Joshua punch him in the face.
Right. Apart from whatever it is, 50, 60, 70 million, whatever the figure is for Anthony Joshua, I only see...
Wade believes Paul stands no realistic chance. The gap in skill and danger is simply too big. Even if Jake is confident, disciplined, and fearless, that doesn't change the reality of the mismatch. Wade argues that surprise tactics won't work either. Joshua is far too experienced to fall for basic traps, and his fundamentals are far beyond anything Jake has encountered. In Wade's eyes, this fight only works as a spectacle, not as a logically balanced contest. He also notes that even the marketing for the fight feels forced. The idea of two big names clashing is great for promotion, but the actual sporting value is thin. His opinion lines up with what many other analysts are saying. This fight exists because it sells, not because it makes sense competitively. Professional boxer Lawrence Okolie adds another perspective. He offered Jake Paul sparring help as preparation for facing Joshua and explained that Joshua is not the type of fighter who always goes for a first-round knockout. Joshua tends to fight calculated, patient, and strategic, reading his opponent before making big decisions. Okolie says this means the pace of the fight will depend heavily on Jake's ability to survive early and slow things down. However, he also makes it clear that even if Joshua doesn't go for a quick KO, the mismatch remains extreme. Jake would need to force a slow fight, withstand heavy shots, and deal with pressure unlike anything he's faced before.
The ego, whatever is making Jake take this fight. And I don't think it's healthy for him at all. I think this is going to be one-way traffic. I think AJ is going to hurt him very badly. And speaking of the insanity of this thing, here is what the first line is. Jake as a plus 800. I have a feeling that's going to shift even more toward AJ at minus 1,500. Because again, how could you even see Jake winning this fight? Where is the possibility for Jake to actually get it done? I mean, look at this picture from them playing paintball a couple of years ago, I guess, or I don't know if it was paintball, but some sort of airsoft like gunfighting. But look at the difference in the size. And I get it, you know, size doesn't just win fights, but AJ doesn't just have the size. He is more experienced at the highest level. He has fought guys that are smaller than him and are more experienced and better than Jake is. Again, Alexander Usyk twice. What better experience? I know Usyk is southpaw, but what better experience to get you prepared to fight a smaller guy than to fight the best, smallest guy coming up to heavyweight in Usyk that you could find? Yes, AJ is plotty and he's maybe a little stiff and maybe his chin is not what it used to be, but that's still Anthony Joshua. So Nikisa Badarian did an interview with Sky Sports, Jake Paul's manager and co-founder of MVP. He had some things to say about the fight. Obviously, they're going to do a massive press tour around this thing. Let's take a look and listen at why Nikisa, maybe a hot take, says that Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua is more winnable for Jake Paul than Gervonta Davis would have been.
How dangerous is this for Paul?
This is a more dangerous fight than Gervonta Tank Davis, but it's a more winnable fight than Gervonta Tank Davis. Gervonta was small, fast, super skilled.
That is a fucking hot take. That's I don't know if that's crazy, but it's a hot take. Let's hear his reasoning.
Gervonta was small, fast, super skilled. Joshua is big, heavy puncher, but not as evasive. So I think if Jake has the right game plan, he has a pretty good shot of winning this fight.
That's crazy. Now, first off, a winnable fight with Gervonta Davis, it was an exhibition. So, wins and losses, we weren't really going to be able to count there. But saying that it is a risky but more winnable fight, it's so hard to get on board with even the thought of Jake winning this. Like, there's only really, I think, one, maybe two avenues where Jake possibly can in some way win it. But when Nikisa says it's a more dangerous but also more winnable, the only thing my mind jumps to is Jake is going to have to stand in front of Anthony Joshua, a literal destroyer at heavyweight, a literal one punch, send you to the hospital, potentially end your career puncher at heavyweight, and take the risk of eating that punch just to land a punch that potentially could knock AJ out. That is why the risk and reward factor, I have to think Nikisa's talking.
Okolie doesn't see any realistic route to victory for Paul, only the slim hope that Joshua chooses to take his time. But even then, Joshua's natural strength, size, and skill will be overwhelming.